right, we are live here. It is episode number 14 of the No BS Show. Today we are with my good friend here, Amie Sanders. She's one of the OG original gangsters here of Riverside Payments. And she started with us as a rep, quickly became the number one rep in the company, and then was promoted to national sales manager, and then for 3 years now has been a top NSM of the year. So she's got a very great story and a very great background, so excited to have her share about that a little bit today on the show. Welcome to the show, Amie.
Yes, thank you, Brandon. Thanks for getting me on here. Yeah, definitely. I love the opportunity. Love to be able to be on your show, and definitely, I get to be around you and learn a lot from you every day too. So that's fantastic. So
absolutely. So why don't you tell us a little bit about your story and where you come from?
Sure. Definitely, I have been in sales pretty much majority of my career or life working. So definitely started in a few retail, did some telemarketing when I was young. Quickly advanced even in that. Went into cell phone sales. Did that for quite a few years. Worked for a few different companies. Moved around. Did some management there, and then I just really wanted to do something different. Mm-hmm. So I started kind of wanting to explore a little bit. Been doing that for a long time. The money just wasn't the same anymore. Wanted to just continue on my journey in sales and really knowing my worth, knowing what I want to make a lot of money, right? So big thing for me, I had a friend who was, working part-time for Riverside, and was, posting, she was doing it part-time, and it's sales and getting everybody signed up, and I really saw one of her checks was the motivation for me. Yeah. For one deal, and I said, I can do that full-time and make bank. I know I can do it, right? Uh-huh. And with my experience in sales, I knew I could do it. So definitely pushed. I mean, I'm pretty sure that I was pretty persistent in Riverside and pursuing Riverside and getting in with them. And really just once I knew that the opportunity for myself was really the money was all in my hands on what I could make. Yeah. It was up to me. Mm-hmm. So really just hitting it hard, knowing that opportunity was there for me to make a lot of money. I think the big thing for me, well, you wanted to say.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So with that, what is some of the biggest takeaways that you learned from your jobs first starting out as like a call center and everything in a call center position? Because, that's where I first started in the merchant service industry, was in a call center, sitting there making 300-400 calls a day, getting told no over and over and over. What was the biggest takeaway you learned from those different jobs that helped, when you started with Riverside, to really help make sure you kind of knew your worth or your value, or knew this was going to be a good fit for you?
Yeah, I think the big thing is, especially when in doing telemarketing and sales, I actually did for a while. I did like the fundraiser thing. I did actually way back when VoiceStream, before it was T-Mobile and all that stuff. And that was when I was young. And that's really where I got into that, making that extra commission and also getting into the closing. Quickly I moved into, even at 18 years old, a closing position, which was fantastic. But yeah, I mean, it's hard when you're doing the phone sales, getting hung up left and right, but it's also very competitive, and I really like that challenge. Was always for me. It's that you get like a high out of that challenge, right? So that's really been a motivating thing for me, as well as in closing a deal or any sale. Anybody who's done sales, and who's really good at it, that feeling you get. And so that's really what's always really got me hooked on the sales part of it. And so right off the bat, even in the telemarketing, it was a huge challenge and getting me hooked on it. So yeah, absolutely. And I think that kind of goes to what we were talking a little bit about the other day is, you're one of those, you're a very independent person. And I think that's part of the story that I love about you the most is, you don't like when people tell you what to do, and you don't like being told no, right? So that's one of the things that, any good entrepreneur or any good salesperson in general is, you hear no way more than you hear yes. And it's the ability to overcome those tough times or those hard times and those hardships to be able to, no matter what, I'm going to provide, and then why you're going to provide and be able to put forth that effort and get those yeses is because of obviously your family and everything. So we have a very similar story in that, and we kind of always joke that you're the female version of me, because you're very aggressive, very to the point, and a very matter of fact, and that's one of the things that I love working with you about and talking with you about as well. So
with that, I think one of the biggest things is kind of being able to overcome that adversity with the no, but then kind of the why. You were telling me a little bit about your family and, being a single mom and how that's really impacted your life. So why don't you tell us a little bit more about that?
Absolutely. So I think a big thing for me, I've always been a stubborn person. So always.
It's very true.
So ever since my poor family, my poor parents, but I've always been really stubborn, but very I always take charge, want to do what I want to do, and so that's really been a big thing, and nobody can tell me no, which could be a positive thing and a negative thing, right? We sometimes you learn.
I've definitely been on both ends of that myself, for sure.
Too many times. So anyways, I've definitely learned a lot from that kind of personality. But I think the big thing for me, and I started as a young mom. And really that's really motivated me. I mean, it changed my life when I became a mom young. It was probably a good thing, actually, because I was, like I said, very stubborn. But I've always been a really hard worker. So I've always worked really hard. I want to make money. I've always been there. And I think the big thing for me when it comes to my kids is I always have really, really wanted to have a good life for them. I don't want them to have to worry about, I think the big thing, like I was bringing up to you also, was sports. Even paying for sports, can be expensive, right? And so, a place to live, making sure they have clothes to wear. I don't, stressing about paying rent or things like that. And I've been in that position for a lot of years. And so, really, that has just really kept me very, very motivated, because I don't want to have my kids to have to worry about those things and see that where, my older ones saw it more than my younger kids. But, that's really, really has drove me really hard, because I'm I know I can get past this and not be that. I know that I can be successful and take my kids on vacation and let them, have nice things, and obviously not spoiled, but you know what I mean. They can have.
Yeah, absolutely, and it's so true. It sounds kind of cliche at times, because it's something that people say all the time is, my wife, my kids, my family, and all that. But it's so true. Once you have that, and you have the kids, and you have your family, it just gives you that extra motivation. Especially if you have that stubbornness, and coming from a background similar to mine is where you didn't have a whole lot of money growing up. We had our one. We went to the beach every year on my end. That's kind of was our family vacation. But we didn't have an abundance of money or really come from anything like that. And that's something that's always propelled me, is I never wanted to have to worry or stress about having to pay rent, about having to pay this bill or that, because I saw the struggle that my parents went through in dealing with that. And, when money's tight, it causes conflict. And that's something that, especially having a family, I don't want to ever have to be a burden on my family. And that's one of my biggest motivating factors. And then being able to then provide and help other people to be in a position to where they don't have to financially struggle is definitely something that hits close to home for me, and why I love doing these podcasts and why I love doing the motivational videos and everything like that, because anybody can have that. And that's something that, whether you're a single mom or, you have both parents, or, you have your spouse or significant other helping you along the way, no matter what path you take, there's a way that you can become successful. There's a way that you can, own your own business. There's a way that you can be a six-figure earner with anything. You just have to find that right career that you're passionate about, something that you love to do, and have those right whys. And a family is a big part of it. So that's a very, very good point there.
Yeah, it is, because there was, like I said, there was a lot of times I did struggle, and that's the next thing that kind of really.
Why don't you tell us a little bit about one of your kind of low points a little bit per se, that you kind of were struggling the most, that really now looking back on, you're like, that really being in that spot or feeling that is something I never want to do again. Why don't you tell us a little story on that?
Yeah, there's been, a few times that, and I definitely have never wanted to, make it a big deal to people or people to know, because, it's embarrassing, really, but even going to work full time, staying in a hotel, paying for hotels every day with my kids, trying to find a place to live, and I never, really wanted to make a big deal, because it is, and that really, I think, was a driving point for me. And I didn't lose my house because, of any kind of issues per se. It was just financially, I just wasn't making enough money no matter how hard I worked. And, so that really, part of that, but, I can always be really thankful for that. I've always had a really, really, really amazing family support system, and I've always really had an amazing group of friends that have made sure that that I haven't felt. And I think that is really, really key. Also is, who I've really had stand behind me, back, right here, right? So if I'm falling, they're really there to pick me up. And that has been so amazing. And that's really been so motivating to me. Really just having those people in my life that have been there. So
absolutely. So you got to have, the belief in yourself, and that willpower to never give up, obviously, is a huge motivating factor that I see in you, and something that allows you to keep fighting and keep clawing forward.
Yes.
But then the next biggest thing is you're going to have your off days, right? So, or your off months, or, even... Yeah, we definitely know that. But with that, you got to have that support system, though, because, before I had a family and everything, one of the biggest things back in my early 20s, when I was just getting started and trying to figure things out myself on my own, I actually had my good friend Mikey, who works with us, actually lived in his living room, just on a little sofa cushion thing in the middle of the floor in the living room. So, and I did that for an entire summer. It was one of those things. I didn't have enough money to pay for rent or get my own place. Kind of went through a bad breakup at the time and everything, and with that I found myself in this kind of awkward position, but I had a good support system, some good friends that were there for me, and I think that really impacted me in a very posive way. Obviously I had my family there, my mom and dad, to support me a little bit as well, but they didn't have the space or the means to supply a place to live, so that's why Mikey was able to help me out there with that. But on both sides of things there, with my parents and with them, I had somebody to lean on. So don't seclude yourself. Don't put yourself in a position where it's just you, because when you have those tough days and those negative thoughts in your head, you're going to be able to lean on your friends and your family to be there for you. So make sure you have that, because no matter how much drive you have, no matter how much positivity you preach, there's going to be the bad days, and that's where your friends and family really come into play to support you. So especially as you're younger and you're getting things going and you're struggling, make sure you're there for your friends. You take time to talk to them, to communicate. Don't just hold it in. Let it out. Say, people are more than willing to help you if you ask for it. So make sure that's something that if you're struggling, definitely reach out and ask for that support.
Yeah, and I definitely agree on that, as well as just even those friends, not shutting out those good friends that are really there for you. Because I've been pretty low and down in the past, and really just had my parents or my best friends, things like that just really come in like, okay, we're not going to let you do this, like here we go, snap out of it. People, like even you have been there before, and things, and which I appreciate so much, is just having that, so that people are not letting you fall. So just making sure you're not cutting those positive people out of your life. So I think it's so
absolutely. And if you're in a good spot and you see someone struggle, reach out and offer them that support. That's the other big part of it, is pretty much everybody's been through the rough times. So if you're in a good spot, make sure that you're there to help others out, and reach out and say, hey, let's go grab that coffee, let's go grab that drink, let's talk about what's going on, right? And that's something that definitely means a lot to people, and it's something that you got to do, because you've been there yourself more than likely. So make sure you pay it forward, and if you haven't, definitely pay it forward, because you'll have your time where you're having a tough time out there. So that's definitely very important, and something that you really got to focus on.
Absolutely. Yeah, I agree. And then I think really important, just really being confident in yourself is really the next factor in that. So for me, it's really the kids, the friends.
Yeah.
The family,
so how did you get that
myself.
confidence in yourself to believe in you? What
well,
was
again,
it?
Bringing up the competitive thing. I'm super competitive. So in sales, that's definitely been, like I said, that it's fun to me. You know what I mean? Even if I have a crappy day, keep it PC, right? Even if I leave here, whatever, I know, it's always the next one, brush it off. There's, always that next call, that next sale, that next person. So not letting that, dwell and affect me. But really what that does is just drive me more, if I know that for some reason I'm not in the lead, for example, right? That's just going to push me more to be like, you know what, screw that. I know I'm better than this, and I know I can do this. And really that competitive, that competition, that knowing I can do this, and knowing that I have those skills, and I've learned so much from so many people, and even life experiences, and had great mentors and people I've really worked with, that I know I have all the skills to be successful. It's really,
Yeah.
and just knowing that and putting that to work. And I'm still learning, and I still am not anywhere even close to where I want to be. But
Yeah.
I've definitely, come a long ways. And so, yeah.
Exactly, and that's the biggest thing is you're always learning. So if you think you know it all, that's actually a very horrible spot to be, because you don't. No matter what, there's always somebody that's going to be better than you. So you always got to make sure that you're learning and improving. The biggest thing in business and entrepreneurship and success I've learned, if you're not getting better, you're getting worse. Business and success is like you're thrown in the middle of a lake. And when you're in the middle of that lake, two things are going to happen. Option A, you're going to drown if you stay in the middle of the lake. Or option B, you're going to swim to shore and better your position. And that's the story of life. You always have to be focused on improving and getting better, because if you're not, you're getting worse. You just don't know it. So don't be naive enough to fall for that trap that you have it perfect and everything's going to continue to be perfect, because you always constantly got to be moving forward there.
Absolutely.
So I'm glad you brought that up.
Yeah.
And as far as the competitiveness, I mean, that's something that's always driven me and motivated me. So when you have those hard times and those struggles, or you get that loss, right? Just know life is so long, right? We're here, on average 80 years, right? 70, 80 years is the average lifespan, right? So if you're 20 or 30 and you're thinking, oh, I'm in a horrible spot, or oh, I've lost, my life's over, whatever, there's so much time. You just have to realize that, it's a marathon, it's not a sprint. You're going to take losses, you're going to get punched in the face, you're going to have your bad days, your good days, etc. You just have to realize that you have to keep powering through and know that it's a marathon and not a sprint, because that's how you're going to keep improving. That's how you're going to keep getting better, right? And that's something that you just really have to focus on and take to heart, because if you believe that and you know it, it's going to make those hard days a lot less challenging for you. And then again, when you have that loss or you get hit in the face, it's going to motivate you. Yeah. One of my biggest motivating factors was with my last company that I owned before this. At the end, I was kind of really wanting to grow on a national level. My business partner at the time wanted to keep it smaller. And we had that, creative difference. And, I was like, hey, I want to swing for the fences, so buy me out. And, I'm going to start another company. Yeah. And with that, the individual told me that there's no way I was going to be able to do it on my own, essentially, without them. And that, for me, was the biggest motivator, because I love proving people wrong, and I know it's a marathon, not a sprint. That really drove me. And then having my kids, my family, my wife, and all that as well, just adding all those additional things, and then being able to achieve that success and pass it on to others, just added more and more fuel to the fire. So I guess what I'm trying to say is, whatever comes your way, positive or negative, you can take that and use that as motivation for yourself. So it's all about your mindset, your belief in you, never giving up, and then doing whatever it takes to be successful. That really defines you.
Yeah, that's absolutely. It's never too late to change. That whole thing.
Exactly.
It's really not. It's never too late. It doesn't matter how old you are, what situation you're in. It doesn't matter if you're feeling down here. All it takes is you putting in that effort, that fight to be up here, really, and putting in that time and knowing that you can do it, and any day can change your whole life, really. So it's, that's
exactly.
really big thing. So.
And that's the biggest testament, is each and every day is a new day. You can't change the past, you can only change the future. Mm-hmm. So what are you going to do today to change the rest of your life? And that's probably one of the biggest things that I think that both you and I do really well, is each day is a new day. Can't change the past, it's in the rearview mirror, right? Yeah, brush that dirt off your shoulder, as Jay-Z said, right? And really focus on, what am I going to do today? You have one life to live. Don't live a life of regrets. You don't want to look back when you're 70 or 80 and be like, man, I wish I would have done this. I wish I would have made that change. Just do it, right? So if you've had a bad day, each day's fresh. Just know that before you go to bed. Just, hey, tomorrow's a new day. Wake up and attack the day and do whatever it takes to put yourself in a good position.
Which is funny you bring up that thing, the 70 thing. I really am terrified of that. I've seen that saying or that meme or that.
The what?
Really, wake up when you're 70 and regret never living your life, right?
Yep.
Literally, I think about that like every day. Do I want to wake up and at that point, I am old and, you can always do whatever, but maybe I can't go run and do that marathon, or I can't, do these things. I'm too old to maybe whatever it may be, right? So I'm definitely terrified of regretting later on that I didn't do something. So that's also another factor that really, pushes me, and sometimes it can be a little much, but hey, whatever.
Exactly. and like you said, that's a phenomenal point there. So, and just kind of wrap things up, I would say the biggest thing is never give up. keep fighting. No matter what anybody tells you, you can do whatever you put your mind to, and just do whatever it takes. I think that's kind of the biggest theme is whatever your whys are. First of all, you need to have your whys and know why you're doing what you're doing, why you want to do it, right? But then just do whatever it takes, obviously ethically, of course. But get there, scratch your way to the top, and just never give up, fight. And put forth that effort, and you're going to be amazed at what you're able to achieve and how many people that you'll have there to support you, especially if you communicate and ask for that help on those bad days. So just keep fighting, keep pushing forward, and do whatever it takes to be successful out there.
Yeah, absolutely. I think for sure, just keep fighting. Do what you want to do. You can do whatever you want, really. So to be successful. So
with that said, thanks so much, Amie, for joining us on the No BS Show. I appreciate it. And as always, be money, be great, and make it a great day.